Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy and I am on a financial freedom journey with my family. I share all about that and more on my channel. Today we are going over Katie's budget. Katie is 55 and she lives in Wisconsin. I have really enjoyed doing these budget reviews and you guys seem to really enjoy them as well. So I'm super excited to bring another one to you today. Again, if you guys are interested in your own budget review, I will link the form in the bio if you guys want to check it out, completely free. As much information as you can give me, the better, because it makes it a lot easier to do these. And yeah, if you need to provide more information, my email is in the bio as well. So feel free to reach out to me directly that way as well if you need more room or need to explain things further. So let's go ahead and get started with Katie's budget review. So like I said, Katie is 55 and she lives in Wisconsin, and I do as well. So fellow Wisconsinite, I love to see you guys out here. She is currently a part-time teacher and her husband works in sales. They are married and have 3 kids. It looks like 2 of them are living at home and 1 of them is actually off at college. So 2 at home, and their annual gross income is about $108,000. Her short-term financial goals and priorities, her biggest one is to reduce debt, and they do have quite a bit of debt, which we will get into in a second. So like I said, she does have over $128,000 worth of debt. She has $61,000 in credit card debt, $20,000 in a car loan, and $46,000 in what appears to be a personal loan. She just referenced it as a loan, and she did say she does not have a mortgage or rent, so I'm fairly certain that is a personal loan. And like I said, that brings her total to $128,000 in debt. They've got just over $1,800 in savings and about $100,000 in investments. And their biggest financial struggle is overspending, and also it seems like they've had some medical issues and medical bills that have been coming up, which has been hindering them in getting ahead on their debt. And Katie and her family's long-term financial goals, her number 1 is to pay off debt, save more, and increase their retirement. So let's go ahead and go over the debt payoff plan for Katie. So like I said, there is quite a bit of debt here. It's over $128,000. And Katie, if you are not familiar with my channel or if you haven't been around for that long, we actually paid off over $130,000 of debt back a few years ago on my channel. So I can totally relate. Obviously ours were all student loans, but it's still a similar amount of debt. And so I totally understand the weight that this probably has on you. It is very stressful, and yeah, it can just be compounding too, like especially with having credit card debt, like the interest rates are just so high and it can be really hard to dig your way out of it. So first of all, I want to commend you for getting to the point where you are fed up with it and want to deal with it, because I think a lot of people sometimes just want to put their head down, ignore it. I was like that for many, many years as well. And I've been in credit card debt before, so I totally understand the feeling of just feeling like it's so hard to get out of it and that you will never get ahead. So I do want to just commend you for even doing this, because I know it can be scary. So let's go ahead and start looking at the debts. So there's 7 credit cards that we're dealing with here. And I did just do, for the most part, the snowball method, but I did put the car and the loan at the end, just because for credit cards, like the interest rates are so high that I would definitely knock the credit cards out first before you're dealing with the car or the loan. That's just personal preference. Obviously you can handle this however you want, but I did do the snowball method for all the credit cards. Obviously a few of these are at 0% interest, and the thing you need to keep in mind is that while they're at 0% interest now, they will eventually expire at that 0%. So again, I would stick with the debt snowball, because some of these are, relatively small that you could probably knock out relatively quickly. And they do have varying minimum payments. I believe these minimum payments may be slightly more than what they actually are, or she's just paid a lot off, because these minimum payments seem pretty high for these balances for some of the smaller ones. So if these are not the true minimum payments, I would go down and actually make sure that these are really the minimum payments, so that you can really take advantage of the debt snowball and start with this lowest one and put all extra income towards this lowest one, and then work your way down the snowball. So my biggest tip is really just to make sure that all these minimum payments are truly reflected. And then also, I did not see a minimum payment for this loan. In the budget, you guys will see that she does have a hospital bill in there, but I did not see anything related to the personal loan. So I'm not sure what the payment is, but we definitely need to figure that out so that we can properly reflect that, not only here, but also in the budget. I'm guessing this was some sort of like consolidation loan, possibly. I originally thought maybe it was medical, but with the interest rate, I don't think it is. I think it may have been some sort of consolidation. So Katie, make sure when you're looking at this on your own that you're properly reflecting the minimum payment here, because that will be critically important when we go to the budget piece. So definitely make sure that you're tracking towards that. But yeah, I would start snowball method and just knock these smaller ones out as quickly as possible. And then you can really start to work on these larger balances. I'm typically not a huge fan of consolidation loans because I know it can be like not a great cycle to get into. But if you agree to completely cut the credit cards off, I think that you could possibly benefit from a consolidation loan, just because these two are so high, and the interest rates are so high, especially this 22%. So I would maybe consider looking into another consolidation loan. I'm not sure if that's something that would be feasible for you, but if you could knock down the interest rates, then that might be something that you want to look into. Now, my only caveat is you have to stop using credit cards. Clearly, this is not working for you. The balances are super high and there's a lot of them. So at this point, I would highly, highly, highly recommend / insist that you cut your credit cards up completely. No more credit cards from here on out, and we will talk about how to make that work in your budget. So let's go ahead and go over Katie's budget next. All right, so like we talked about, I'm going to be insistent that you cut the credit cards up, because I can tell that you are still probably using them based on the way that you reported your budget to me, because based on the budget that Katie provided, there was no variable expenses, sinking funds, any of this extra listed there. So what I'm guessing is that she's probably using the credit cards for all like the personal variable expenses, and then like just paying the minimums or like paying them off every month as much as possible. So I think that we need to do some work on the actual budget piece to make this work. And again, cut up the credit cards. So Katie had put in her form that they bring home $72,200, which is about $6,000 a month. So that is what I utilized for the total income. That's net income. She did say that's after 401k, taxes, insurance, all of that stuff. So we're working with about $6,000 a month. So again, no rent and mortgage. So that's great. That's definitely a huge help in this budget. She does have a few subscriptions. They have SiriusXM for $20, $18 for Netflix. They do tithe $40 a month, 184 utilities, but then she also has $455 for We Energies. And living in Wisconsin, I know my We Energies is like my electric and gas, so I'm guessing this is maybe water. So just make sure we're checking into that. And also the We Energies does seem pretty high, $455 a month. We live in like a relatively normal sized house, and our bill is about $200 a month. So I'm not sure why that's so high, or if there's anything that you could do to reduce maybe the We Energies or the utilities, but definitely something to look into there. Also, the Sirius and the Netflix, they gotta go, hun. I'm sorry, they just do. I would cut both of these out immediately. Just to free up some budget, and then see if you can possibly reduce the utilities. I know that's a really hard area to reduce, but it could be a possibility. She had $440 for insurance. I'm assuming this is car insurance, and because she does have older children, I'm guessing that there's probably 4 to 5 people on this, so that could very well be accurate. But another thing, maybe you could shop around and see if there's any better rates out there, or maybe see if you could save a little bit by paying biannually instead of paying monthly. Those are just all options to potentially save money here. They do have a membership to a health club for $250 a month. I would highly consider either getting a different membership or cutting this out. I know that these are very important things, and I totally can understand that. But in the position you're in right now, I would highly consider cutting that out. I don't know, going to a cheaper gym for a temporary period. I just want you to remember that these things are temporary. Like, you won't have to cut these things out forever, but there may be a time in your life where you need to. And I think that in this scenario, it is pretty urgent that you get these things taken care of. So I would definitely consider that. Cell phones for $294. Again, I'm guessing this is probably including some lines for the older kids, but something that you may want to consider is looking at other providers. Personally, my husband and I use Mint Mobile. So even if you had the unlimited plan, So let's say you have all 5 of your family on that plan. That would be $150 a month for the unlimited plan for Mint versus $300. So you'd be almost cutting this in half. Now, I don't know if this $294 has any like payment plans for like the actual cell phones. That's obviously something that you'd have to keep in mind. You'd have to pay those off before you close your account with whatever your cell phone provider is. But the $150 is looking a lot better than the almost $300. So definitely consider that. I will leave my link down below for Mint Mobile if anyone wants to check it out. We have loved our service, loved our experience with Mint, highly recommend it. And it is a great way that we've been able to save a lot of money every single month in our own budget. Again, we already talked about the $455 for We Energies, seeing if you can cut that down. I know, like I said, utilities are difficult. It's hard to cut that back. But I mean, just being mindful of like turning lights off and just doing the things like unplugging things when you're not using them can go a long way in that. And $159 for Spectrum. I'm guessing this is internet and cable. Cut the cable if you can. I would highly recommend it. So if we can cut the cable, that would be great. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 things that we can action right now off of these. And I know it's hard. I know it sucks. We could probably cut this cell phone down quite a bit as well. It sucks. I know. I've been here. I have been here where we have had to cut our budget down to nothing, where we have had to live like we did in college. It's not fun, but I think that it is in this scenario something that you really need to consider doing. I did keep this section mainly just like minimum payments. So I did combine all the credit card minimums. Katie, you have $1,600 in credit card minimum payments right now. That is why I'm saying I think you need to really, really cut back where you can, because that is not a sustainable amount of credit card minimums to have. And then she also does have $178 for a hospital bill. Again, I did not see the loan in here, so I don't know what that minimum payment is, but that definitely needs to get added into here. So just alone for the car, hospital bill, and credit card minimums, we are at $2,300 in minimum payments. And that's not even including the personal loan, which I'm guessing is probably another $500, if not maybe a little bit more than that. So really not in a great position with minimum payments here. And that is why I'm being so harsh on these, because I really think that if you want to dig yourself out, you are going to have to make some sacrifices here, and they're not going to be fun and not enjoyable, but they are probably necessary. So total fixed expenses is $4,145. Now, again, that is before any of these adjustments that we're hoping to make. So keep that in mind. I'm hopeful that you will make some adjustments and decrease this a little bit. And the total remaining is $1,871. Now, I kind of stopped here because, again, I don't know a lot about the variable expenses and possible sinking funds. Again, when we look at her submission, they only have about $1,800 in savings. And so I would say we need to bump this up. Number one priority is getting a bigger emergency fund. If you're a family of 5, like, you need a larger emergency fund than this. I would say at least 1 month of expenses, and that does include your minimum payment. So that's probably going to be close to $5,000, I would guess. So number one priority, increasing this savings. Once you have at least 1 month, I would work towards those credit cards based on the debt tracker that we talked about already. But in the interim, obviously, we need to talk about these variable expenses. So we need to go through the budget. We need to come up with what you're spending on groceries, gas, miscellaneous spending, anything. So what I want you to do, Katie, is take your last 3 months of expenses, take your last 3 months of all of your credit card statements, anything that you are using to pay bills, debit cards, credit cards, whatever, cash, anything. Scrutinize it for the last 3 months. I want to know how much you spent on groceries, gas, miscellaneous spending, all of it. Anything, personal, beauty, any of your categories. I can't say for sure what they are because I don't have a lot of information, but cut up the credit cards and you need to make a budget today. Do it today. You don't have time to wait. We need to get going because I think that the faster you can get moving on this, like, you have $1,800 left over here, and that's without cutting anything out. So if we can take this $1,800 now, and I know we need to account for this loan here, so say it's like $1,300. Let's say, I'm just going to put some rough numbers in here. We're a family of 5. Let's go $800 for groceries, $200 for gas, $100 for miscellaneous, and $100 for spending. So we're at about $1,200 here. And then that's not even including sinking funds. We're pretty close to short here. And that's without not making any extra payments on debt. So again, cutting back here being realistic here, but also cutting back because you need to, and cutting up the credit cards and only using your debit card for now, because I think you need a detox. You need to just cut them up and get rid of them. Now, the sinking fund stuff, I would not super prioritize this right now, because I think you do need to focus on, number one, that 1 month emergency fund. Number two, working towards these critical debts. So like the credit cards, I would say really are the critical things that you need to take care of. So I'm not sure that I would necessarily add in a bunch of sinking funds at this point, but I think you do own a home. I think, at least I'm pretty sure. So you probably need to be saving for home expenses, for, you know, property taxes, etc. So there's probably going to need to be some sort of sinking funds here, but you know, the lower we can go, the better. Medical, it seems like you guys do have some medical expenses. So looking at that, and then car, you guys own a car, obviously. So there probably should be some savings there too. So I can't really complete the budget fully just because I don't know what I don't know. But what I do know is that you can get out of this, but it's not going to be fun. And you're going to have to really buckle down for a short period of time. The other thing I want to mention is somehow increasing the income. I know she said she's a part-time teacher. Can you go full-time? Can you tutor? Can you pick up some side work? Your husband's in sales. Can he, you know, pick up some side hustles or do some extra work on the side? There needs to be both. I think that to make this work, we have to have an increase in income and a decrease in expenses. If you can do both, you'll be working so much faster through this, and your shovel's going to get bigger, and you will be able to dig your way out of this. But the way that it is now, I just don't see how this budget can really work without some sacrifice and some increase in income. So that is all I have for you today. Katie, feel free to reach out to me directly. I would be more than happy to talk to you over email, DM on Instagram, whatever works for you. If you want to talk to me directly about working through this, because I know it's hard and I know that it can take time to figure out what works for you. So I'm here to help you. If you need me, definitely feel free to reach out, and please keep me updated, Katie, if you can. I would love to hear about your story and hear how you are working through this. I don't mean to come off harshly at all. I just know that sometimes that needs to be the conversation that's had to wake people up and get them to light a fire under their butt. And I know that this is not a fun situation for you. And so if you want to change it, it's going to have to continue not to be fun for a little bit, because we need to get it under control and really just cut back as much as possible. So that's all I have for this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any advice or tips for Katie, and I will talk to you guys in my next video. Thanks guys. Bye.